Hello there, viewer. This is Samuel Amstine, and I greet you to my audience in open arms. As you can see here, we have yet another house out there on the production line, and quite recently from our single story tutorial house that we did over there. I've already got the layout over there. We'll get ready to explain that first. Let's go ahead and do a walk around of this house. As you see here, we have a nice little entry space here with a living space with a beautifully done hearth and a nice little kitchen space. Along with, if we go upstairs, we have a nice lofty second floor. This house is extremely large and would take up a good portion of your village's space. I wouldn't recommend having this house if your village is not run by some sort of extremely powerful, wealthy person like a bailiff. Now, without further ado, let's get on with the layout of the structure. As we can see here, the layout of this house is very different from our prior tutorials. It's very complex, very asymmetrical, and it can be quite tricky to master. As per usual, the wall segments themselves are outlined with cobblestone, and the pillars are outlined with orange wool. The entrance is marked with blue wool, and keep in mind that where the wood paneling is, it would usually be a good mixture of different variations of dirt, or in this case it might very well actually be these planks, seeing that the person that would have such a large house would be very wealthy indeed. However, if this isn't the case, it would most likely be a good mixture of dirt. So without further ado, let's get on with framing the first floor of the house. And now, without further ado, we're going to grab our trusty oak beam blocks, and we're going to place them as per usual with a good majority of our plans 4 blocks high. As a good rule of thumb, if the tutorial is going to have a structure with more than one floor, it's going to have 4 block tall pillars. Almost messed that up. Alright, so anyways, make sure to not have your pillars in your concave corners. Big no-no. Even though in the previous tutorial I was pretty much slipping up on everything and saying that you probably should have one. Then we're going to take our clean yellow stucco and we're going to start placing it along the cobblestone, making sure to cover all of that up. Quite simply, like this. I forgot to have space for the hearth, which is going to be there. Terribly sorry about that. Alright, now we need to make spaces for our windows, and I would say that some good spots would be here, would be one. Here we can put a bay window there, and we can put another window there. That should be good. It should keep it nice and simple. Then we're going to grab our windows. Wooden pane 1. I find this to be quite nice. This one, forget that we're going to have that be a bay window. Like we did in our very first tutorial, we're going to do the bay window by making sure that our panes are 1 block further than usual. Then, as per our old first tutorial, we're going to take the clothes hanger block and we're just going to place it underneath, like that. Quite nice. The block of blue wool here, we're going to put cobblestone blocks, just because that's how it's supposed to be. And now that we've got that, we can get on to framing the second floor of the house. Alright, so now the second floor of the house is going to proceed as follows. Can get quite tricky to figure out how the entire structure of the roofing is going to go, but we're going to get to that soon enough. So first off, we're going to place our overhanging bit of the second floor here, and here as well. make sure that underneath on the corners you place your oak beam pillars, and then at the points where they meet and have more than one block space, you place some vertical beams and then horizontal oak beams as well. Don't forget to add the supports to the walls here. Same thing here, only this time don't add the vertical connections there, as there's really not enough room. However, on this part here, we're just going to place that there, and you might say, but it doesn't connect to that. Ah, yes. You just right-click these, and they make more ends. Smart. So, then we're going to get rid of the logs that we no longer need. And then we're going to get on with the framing for each of the roof faces. First one here is going to go here, and then just stair-step it up. Make sure that the wall parts of this facing are 2 blocks high, as per usual with our style design. Here, make sure to go from corner to corner, and then stair-step your roof all the way up, 1 block at a time. Slope of 1 block to 1 block. Make sure to do that perpendicular to the other one, so that way your roof lines up. Finally, this is the last face that actually has enough room for a face, so just place one there. And some of you might be eyeing this part here and being like, but there's enough room for this here. It would look quite redundant if you were to ask me. So then from there we're going to proceed and place the start of where we're going to put our tutor boxes. That way we can make sure that everything is going smoothly. Then, for the spaces that don't really have anything, we're going to grab these white plaster vertical slabs, and we're going to place them across. It just adds so much depth, while on the other side maintaining the same amount of space that it would with a normal block. However, go ahead and take the white plaster full blocks and just do that on both sides there, just because that's as much space as you have. Yes, I was right on that. Alright, and now we can get on to framing the roof and gables, which by far is going to be the trickiest part of this build. Alright then, so now, as per usual, we're going to take our thatched stairs, and we're going to place them along the top parts of our frames here. So far, on this part of the house, it's going to be relatively normal. Just the usual placing of your thatch roof blocks, your stairs. Make sure to have your overhangs, as per usual. And yes, make sure to have your overhangs, as per usual. Alright. Now we're going to get on to the gables, and this is by far going to be the most complex part. On this corner block here, make sure to have a full light thatch block, usually facing the same direction as these vertical stripes in here. So now we're going to take our wooden staircases, and we're going to mainly focus on our larger, more dominant roofs first, which are going to be these. Because these here are going to be the most normal and most easiest for people to follow along with. These probably are by far the steepest and largest variations of this type of roof that we have done in this series. Always have to make sure that your gables are in order, otherwise your thatched roof won't stay up. Now that we've got that, now we can do the more complex part, which is going to be this face here. We're going to make sure to have our overhang done there, I believe that's right. Yes, that is indeed right. Then we're going to make sure to have our gables placed here, like so. And then placing the under ones like that. That way it keeps it nice and sturdy. Underneath, however, around this block. Hold on a minute. Yes, we're going to run our gables here across these blocks. And then they're going to stop one block underneath the subroof's gables here, like this. Make sure that these also extend downwards to about there. Why not just have them extend past there? We want to make sure that there's plenty of detail. We don't want to be devoid of detail by covering that up. Next, down here, make sure to have those placed there like that. And finally, we need to place our apexes. Make sure to grab the proper Tudor frame apex blocks here. And then we can place our apexes as per usual. Sorry about that for a moment. I almost thought that I was going to have to restart this section because of certain lag spikes that have been attacking me recently. So now without further ado, as per usual, I'm going to skip filling in these really large gaps. But first, before we do that, we need to finish the facing of the Tudor. You don't have to follow along, but if you want to, then by all means, go ahead. We just need Tudor blocks here. Just a whole bunch of Tudor blocks. That's all it is. We don't need that one, we need this one. Okay. And do something like this. Get rid of those. That, yes. Right here, do something different. Maybe something like that with blocks on the sides there. Then, you know, just something like that with blocks up the middle like that, and blocks facing upwards like that. Alright. So now we're going to get on with filling this in, and then we'll get to building that hearth, which, by the way, is much better. Make sure also, don't forget, like I have just done, to place your flooring. Of course, how could I have possibly forgotten? Oh dear, whatever shall I do? Make sure to leave some room for the stairs as well. About, yeah, one block gap there should be fine. Alright, and I will get back to you once I have finished filling in these gaps here. Alright, and as we can see here, this house is already looking done. We just have a few more details that we have to do. And that is vital interior detailing, which really needs to be done, and the hearth. We're going to get to the hearth right now. So for starters, make sure that you have the flooring of your hearth ready. It should be a 3 block by 3 block gap in your wall, and make sure that you have 1 block past your wall, behind and in front. Now on each side, we're going to make sure that you have your hearth walls, such as this, and then the top of the hearth where the mantle is going to go there. Then make sure you have your brick stairs placed there. Then finally, on the outside here, make sure you have your brick corner blocks placed here, and your brick vertical slab there. Also make sure right behind the brick vertical slab, you place a full block of brick, and then you place your brick stairs behind that. That way it actually makes a visually pleasing flue, and we'll see that effect very soon. Next up, you plate the sides of this block with the brick vertical slab blocks, and then also make sure to join that part as well. What that will look like on the inside is that it will actually look like the flue is leading up into the chimney. It doesn't need to extend further past 2 blocks above the stair block. I just prefer to have it that high. But now at this point, we're going to take bricks here, and we're just going to lead it up. However, I don't want to break the apex part here, so we're going to break these 2 gable blocks, and we're going to do that. We're going to have a crooked one, which then we're going to place the stone brick arches. And make sure to have a stable bend in our hearth, such as that. If you want, you can lead up the farther side of this here, such as that, and maybe have another one there like that. That will make sure that it looks like it was well crafted, like mine isn't. And as for checking in reference, yes, that is indeed how it should be. Then if you want, you can add smoke there. I'm not going to. Then on the inside, that should be how it looks. Just for reference, we can look back here at our hearth that we designed here. I'm going to place these brick trapdoors because I find it to be quite fashionable to have not only that, but some clothes hangers. Place the clothes hangers across here as your hearth, and then up here on either side, place some bricks, and it just looks beefy. Finally, here, place some hot coals, as per usual. Before you put your mantelpiece here, you can always make sure to add some kind of food. I always make sure to add something like some big old sausages right there. And then finally, we can take our flint and raise it. Finally, take some straight railing, just place it there, and it just looks quite nice, to be honest. If you don't want that there and you just want it to be an open hearth, by all means, just remove it. But if you want it to have a nice mantle, go ahead and do that. Fine by anyone. And now you have this nice little space here, and whoop! How did we forget the stairs? It's so weird. Let's go. For these stairs, it's simple enough. Just go bam, bam. Then I think I just missed something. Nope, I'm fine. Just go there, and then one there. Then finally grab our amazing floor panels, make them the trapdoors, lead them up, remove these, put one underneath, remove that one. And finally take the railing designed for stairs and start placing it over the block of the stairs. Just need to place our last one there. Then place one there. That should be good. also place some along here as well. Yes, it looks quite nice indeed. Now we have the last part here, which is the supports up top. Now, just for reference as to why I would just start flooding the inside of this house with just supports everywhere, where in most builds you probably don't have that. Well, one, we're just utilizing Conquest Reforged textures, of course, but there's more to it. Realistically, you probably would have some supports here, mainly because thatch was heavy. Very heavy. Extremely heavy. In fact, you know those enchanting little medieval houses that have those cross beams like this, these toter blocks here? No, those were actually much larger, and they were meant to hold the roof up. That's right, they were meant to hold the roof up. They had to have something that could actually support the weight of something as heavy as thatch, which is mainly mud and dried grasses tied together and meshed together, and sort of placed as sort of a dog over the frames here. It would just so happen that they would rest nicely as a roof shape. So yes, thatching was extremely heavy. It was cheap to make, but it was heavy. So, without further ado, that is... oh, almost forgot. We need a blasted door. There we go. Now we got our door, we got everything we need. It is done. This house is finally complete. Keep in mind, too, to maintain realism, if you do have, like any kind of furnaces, as you can see in the interior there, please always make sure to have some kind of funnel coming out and bellowing the smoke of that. It just adds a lot more realism. With that, there's not very much more to do. I can finally consider this video complete. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe and press that bell button. I will always make sure to have some kind of content out at least every week, at most maybe 2 weeks. I'm not putting myself to any kind of promises to that. However, if you like these videos, make sure to make that known by pressing that like button. And if you have any comments or suggestions, make sure to make your voice known down in the comment section below. Without further ado, this is Savvius1 Amstine, and until next time.